my little Darklings, Carmia Stone here, and welcome to part 2 of my concept fan idea thing for a Cult of the Lamb prequel. And context, I have actually been playing the Relics of the Old Faith update for Cult of the Lamb, and kind of looking at it, I'm seeing that some of my ideas might not really work with the prequel that I'm working with now. But I'm still gonna make this because I'm really into this, and I'm going to just keep going with it, because hell, why not? Anyways, in this one I cover the curses that each of the bishops would use to fight the Freethinkers. Strangely enough, the first one I wanted to try my hand at was Calamar. So I went and watched his and the other bishops' boss fights to see what I could try and incorporate into their curses. For Calamar's, I went with primarily AoE or area of effect spells, since that was his main use in his fight that I noticed, and since he would want people trying to harm him as far away as possible. Kinda the loner type, I can kinda understand it. I did want to use some of the elements from each of the bishops' lands in their powers. So all of Calamar's abilities are going to be somewhat more aquatic based, since of course that his primary area is aquatics. So for his first curse, I wanted to use a jellyfish like the one that you would see in a lot of the areas you wander around in, that basically launch themselves at, well, your character. And I wanted to be able to have a little bit of a glow, so that way they kind of go with the whole idea of like, yeah, it is a curse, it's not technically a creature that you use. The second one I wanted to do was a barrier. The barrier itself I actually designed after a type of water serpent. It's not really a specific one, I just looked up ideas for different serpents online and kind of went with the idea with all the sharp fins and stuff. And of course I wanted it to look more like water, so hopefully I got the concept look for it good. So what this particular creature does is that it actually swirls around Calamar, being able to be like kind of a barrier. It does actually do quite a bit of defense. It stays around for about, I'd say, 3 to 4 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds, I would say. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not very good when it comes to some of the timing stuff. But with this one, of course, it does take a bit of extra fervor to be able to use, so basically you'd want to use this particular curse very sparingly. Or, you know, hope that you can be able to get the cards that give you a lot of fervor and lets you get your fervor back over time. So the third one is going to be the fireballs that he actually used in his fight. So of course I made it to where they circled around him and everything, so that way, you know, kind of like in his boss fight, so that way he'd be able to do some more area of effect damages around him. And of course, every single one of these bishops are going to have 4 different curses for each of them. So, a final ability for Calamar's was going to be kind of similar to the Touch of Tora. I probably butchered that name, so forgive me if I did. But instead of tentacles, it's actually sharp pieces of coral. And when it's charged up, of course, using even more fervor doing it this way, it will launch into 4 different directions, kind of like Maelstrom. Again, I probably butchered that name, so again, forgive me for butchering names. I try my best. The next one is going to be Heket and her abilities, and I figured for her it would be more towards heavy hitting spells, since that's the one thing I really had trouble with Heket's fight, was the fact that Heket, like, basically would slam into the ground or have a lot of her hard-hitting creatures coming after you during the entire fight. So I decided heavy hitting stuff was definitely the more logical solution for when it comes to curses for her. So the first ability is actually going to be similar to the Hounds of Fate, which is, of course, a personal favorite of mine, and I'm sure quite a few others. But just not as fast. Basically what it is going to be those flies that wander on the screen, which, by the way, I really do not like those flies whatsoever. There's going to be 5 of her flies flying around her, and they'll be very slow, but they will actually explode on impact. They'll stay on the screen, they won't disappear over time. They'll actually just stay on the screen until they actually hit something. Or, if the room does get cleared out before the last fly or last few flies are used, then they will clear it after that. I just realized, the first part of it, 5 of her flies from her fight, it's kind of like a tongue twister. 5 of her flies from her fight, Okay, on to the next one. So the second ability of hers is actually going to be her fly bombs, which launches at the area marked with a target, similar to like Iker Throw or any of like the throwing abilities that you can be able to use for Lambert, but with, of course, more of a boom to it. I wanted to be able to also design the targets for any of the bishops that I actually made targets for. I actually designed them after their crown's design, kind of like how whenever using Lambert's design, it does have a similarity to the red crown that they wear. So I decided to similarly make it towards possibly Calamar, or heck, I don't know. Why do I keep saying Calamar? Now, the third ability doesn't really involve heavy hitting, but it does help you heavy hit with your weapons. With this one, you basically just shoot a large swamp ball at the ground, and when it explodes, it basically makes like a little sticky area, so whenever any kind of enemy walks across it, they get really stuck in the mucket, so to say, and you can be able to get up to them and get a nice heavy whack on them. Now for the last ability is the mortar hoppers that you fight in Anura. But instead, with like 6 of these guys falling from the sky in random spots in the map, which explode on impact. But with using this curse, the cost of fervor is a lot higher than the rest of the curses, so it's one of those use wisely type abilities. I cannot talk today apparently. What is wrong with me? Now we head to Leshy for his abilities. Yay! The first one is going to be like what I did with Calamar's version for the Tachitora, but instead of coral, it's going to be sharp roots. Kind of like when he crawls around underground during his boss fight in the main game, or like one of the other creatures, the little worm-looking guys that crawls around and they don't really do anything except when they do crawl, they have all those spikes that kind of bounce out every time, so you have to be careful not to go over their trails. So I decided it would be kind of interesting to use that one for the Tachitora instead. Now the second ability will be the blue fireballs that rain from above, but instead of just going all around the place like in the fight with Leshy, they actually will go into a straight line instead. I mean, since he is kind of still learning his powers, I figured, you know, Leshy would probably be the one to where he is still learning to be able to make them widespread instead of going into a straight line. So, I mean, it's basically the same from when it comes to all of the bishops anyways. Every one of them are still learning their abilities, so that's why a lot of them are more downgraded, or stuff that they don't even really use, but, you know, I wanted to add it because why the heck not? The third ability will be a slashing type curse, similar to the death curses that you would use. When used, it will actually launch thorns at the area it's pointed at, and it can range from 3 to 5 thorns depending on, again, how long you charge it for, and of course, more fervor being used in the process. It also has a secondary effect. Instead of just damaging, it also causes poison damage. It has a chance, of course, but, you know. So it'll last for a little bit, and then that way at least you get a little bit of an extra punch going on when it comes to fighting the free thinkers. Now the final ability is going to mimic his death form just a bit, because it's a cursed trap. When you use it, you can lay down a Venus flytrap on the ground by marking it, and when an enemy walks over it, the flytrap will snap shut, not only causing some good damage, but it will stun the enemy for a few seconds, allowing for a swift attack on them. And by the way, I actually had to look up Calamar's death form and a bit of Venus flytrap look, and try to see about what kind of design would work for it. So hopefully it looks okay. I did try my best with it, so if it needs some tweaking and everything, just let me know down in the comments. Now I can finally go into Shamura's curses. And if you can't tell already, Shamura is my favorite of all the bishops in the game. I'm not sure if it's my love of spiders or not, but I really just find her pretty cool. I like the backstory, and I kind of like how in some way you kind of learn a little bit more about Shamura before you learn about the others, because of the interactions that they give you when you first start playing the game. But I don't know, that's just me. Anyways, her first ability is going to be a bomb ability, in which you will aim and shoot a bomb at a target area. But again, I wanted to make it more similar to the area that they are from, so instead it looks like a ball of silk, instead of just like a normal bomb. and when it explodes, not only does it cause damage, but it leaves a spider web in its place, which will slow down enemies that walk over it. Kind of figured it'd be a nice little touch to it. No, honestly, it actually would have been really cool for Shamura to actually use it in their boss fight. I mean, thinking of the fact that Shamura is one of the more logical, or I guess you could say more tactical of all the bishops. I felt like that Shamura's fight could have used a little bit more, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. The second ability is actually one that will launch a powerful blast of Ichor around them, leaving a puddle there once they move away from their spot. It's not really much, but I also did kind of give it more of a greenish look and everything instead of the solid black, because I wanted it to kind of look like spider venom almost. So it's not really blasting Ichor, it's more basically blasting a lot of venom around the area. So of course when they walk over it, they actually they'll get damaged, but they'll also get poisoning as well, so there's a chance for that. So it's at least something good for them to use. The third ability is going to be a slashing attack, which launches balls of venom in front of Shamura, again, poisoning things around them. I'm using a lot of poison with Shamura because I really wanted to go with the concept of spiders. And honestly, thinking about it, maybe I should have held back on the poisoning thing, but oh well. I kind of worked with it, and if I do eventually decide to do a different curse, maybe I'll draw it one day, but for right now, a lot of poisoning. And the final ability is going to actually summon a horde of spiderlings around them that target surrounding enemies, and they don't disappear until they hit a target, or if they actually beat the room before all the spiderlings hit anything, then they will disappear after that. Which they don't really cause poison damage, they just cause damage in general. So it just really ranges, sometimes, and it doesn't really matter when it comes to charging on this one. This one just basically does random amounts. So it's not like anything too severe. It's either 4 of them to about 6 of them. So it just all varies, I guess. I don't know exactly how they would vary with it, but that's just an idea for it. And that is the abilities that the young bishops would use. I'm not sure what to call each of these abilities, so if you guys have any names for them, let me know in the comments or in the Darkling Den's Discord server. And when we get names for all of them, I'll actually post them on my community page so that way everyone will be able to see them. And whoever actually commented the ability names for them, I'll actually, of course, credit them from the Discord server. Come on, I'm not gonna take credit for it. I'm definitely not smart enough to be able to do too many names. I can do designs, but I'm not entirely good with some names for things, so yeah. And I'm not even close to done with this video series just yet. And the next one is actually going to talk about the weapons that they would use. I can't remember how many they were going to use. I think it was going to be up to 4 weapons, just like they did with the curses, but we'll just see what happens. So if you guys like the series, leave a like and a comment below, and if you guys haven't already, please hit the subscribe button to be able to see more of my content for this series, and any gameplays that I actually do, since I am working on playing through more of the Cult of the Lamb Relics of the Old Faith. So hopefully I'll still be playing it by the time I'm actually putting this second episode up. I've just been working on a lot of stuff recently. I've been busy with work in general, so hopefully this will still be relevant by the time I post it. And of course, I also post gameplays and other stuff on Fridays and everything, so if you guys want to check that out, please do. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed my little Darklings, and I will see you in the next video.